Think you'll get that? That's a big number. It's a beautiful house, though.
Well, it's not like 12,000 square feet with the barn and everything
Why the hell do you even build that thing?
to do this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Enjoy it for a little bit. And
I've been there 2.5 years, so I get past that.
good for you. Yeah, it's a sweet place. I mean, it's unreal.
I had 5 people pull in my driveway and ask me to use that.
Yeah, probably for like,
What's that even listed?
really?
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Okay, if it's 3 o'clock, if we could all stand for the pledge, and Mr. Ben, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, now here we can go. This is the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. It's an advisory board for which makes recommendations to the county commissioners who will make the final decision on all these items. Item H2 has been withdrawn by the applicant and will not be heard today. Items on today's agenda will be heard by the county commission on March 4th. When a motion ends in any kind of split vote, a roll call vote may be taken to ensure accuracy. As a reminder, each member who makes a motion or a second needs to turn their microphone on so that your voice is on record. All right. Do we go for approval or do we go for the chair and co-chair?
You can start with the chair and vice chair.
All right, we need to elect a chair and a vice chair, and this is both for the planning and zoning and the LPZA.
I'll make a motion to keep it with you as the chair and Pete as the vice chair.
Does Pete need to be here for that?
Typically, you would like that individual to be present so they accept the nomination. Obviously, you have a motion, so if you want to do a second, you can, and see if you have a unanimous vote.
Okay.
If there is an issue later, obviously that can be raised.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
All right, we have a motion by Brian, a second by Ron. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Well, thank y'all. All right, can we get a motion for the approval of the P&Z minutes from January 11th?
Mr. Chair, so moved.
I
Okay.
second it.
A motion by Ben, a second by Joe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed unanimously. Okay, item 1.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know we're doing a little bit different this month from here on out. The project planners are going to present the cases that are sitting over to your left. We have Paul Bodie that's going to do the first item, and then George is going to do the last couple. So from here on out, they're going to present the cases since they're the most knowledgeable and that. So I'll still be here to answer any questions, but.
But you was doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
normally you ask about ex parte communication. Just to let you all know, I have had ex parte communication with Brian Stevens in reference to items H3 and H4. That communication consisted of one email where I advised Mr. Steffens that I was not aware of any considerations that would affect his client's proposed use of the site. I emailed a copy of that email to Jennifer. She has sent it to the attorney.
Okay. Are we all good there? Or
Yes, that is fine. It's exactly what needs to be done. If any of the members of this board has had any prior communications or site visits regarding any application, this would be the time to make that declaration.
Correct.
Just to alleviate any conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. Ron?
Thank you.
All right. Item 1.
Yes, item 1, Nichelle R. King requests change of zoning classification from AU agricultural residential to RRMH-1 rural residential mobile home. The property is 3.16 acres, located on the west side of Railroad Avenue, approximately 540 feet north of Sidco Road. Address is 3620 West Railroad Avenue, Cocoa.
All right, thank you, sir. Is the applicant here? Yes, ma'am. If you could come up to the podium here and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Teresa Davis. I'm here on behalf of Nichelle King. My home address is 841 Bellhurst Lane, Rockledge, Florida, 32955.
Okay, and just a little summary, ma'am, of what you're looking to do.
Ms. King is looking to rezone the property for residential. She wants to put a double wide on the property and have it zoned for the same as the property that's to the north of it.
Okay. Does anyone here from the board have any questions for her? Okay, seeing that, I take it back out to the audience. Is anyone in the audience for or against this item would like to speak? All right, we'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chair, I see that this is consistent with the surrounding properties. I move to make a motion to approve applicant's request.
Second?
I'd
Oh.
second it.
We already had a second there, Joe, from Mr. Ron, but got a motion by Ben, a second by Ron. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. Have a good day.
All right.
Item number 2 has been withdrawn. The applicant withdrew it. He had a variance that was approved for the size, so he withdrew this application. And I'll turn the mic over to George.
Good afternoon, Board. Item number 3, Preferred Leasing LLC. Brian Steffens requests a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment, 20S.12, to change the future land use designation from residential 4, NC, which is neighborhood commercial, and CC, community commercial, to all community commercial. The property is 6.33 acres in size, and it's located at the northeast corner of Kyler Street and US Highway 1. PZ number is 20PZ00116, and it's in District 1.
Okay, is the applicant here? And also, sir, that mic will move wherever you need it. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Jason Bartlett. My address is 2512 West Thorpe Drive, Malabar, Florida, 32950.
All right. And just a little summary of what you're looking to do.
Yeah, we have prepared a slideshow to kind of walk through that. Is that loading?
If we're going to hear both sections, I'll read in number 4, which is the zoning application as well. If we were just going to hear the land use, then we'd just do the one. But item number 4, which is their companion application for Preferred Leasing LLC, they're requesting a change of zoning classification from BU1, which is general retail commercial, and AU, which is agricultural residential, to all BU1. And this request is a little bit larger request because we're covering the entire property at 8.51 acres. Same location, though, northeast corner of Kyler Street and US Highway 1.
Okay. I guess we could watch the slideshow and then take a vote separately on each item, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a way to control the slides or? Sorry. There we go. So basically, we have two maps down here on the bottom for the two different, the change in land use and the change of zoning. On the first diagram on the left, we have the front corner is the what was originally Robinson Equipment Company, which is a local tractor and lawnmower dealer that has now switched over to Florida Coast Equipment, which is another similar operation, similar dealership. They just purchased that. That's a family-owned business to another family-owned business. So now the Florida Coast Equipment, after the change, would basically take over both lots 524 and 533. So when you look at that AU that's crossed out, that is the agricultural use that we're switching, basically taking that corner parcel and just extending it to both parcels that is already under the same ownership. So that BU1 then covers both parcels. And then on the future land use, that CC strip is on the back half of or back quarter of the property. And then you have a kind of a flag shaped piece for the NC. And then the community commercial is just that front, again, that front corner. So we're just looking to extend that front corner to cover the entire property.
Now, the community commercial, that is where the existing Robinson Equipment was, correct? Now, you're wanting to rezone the surroundings.
Correct.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So if you take a look at the property, basically that cleared area is all fenced in for their compound right now. There's
Right.
different zonings and future land uses, but basically they have spread out a little bit over that entire property, and that entire property is fenced in. So if you look at it, those are the two lots, 524 and 533. Right now, it's all under the same ownership and is going to be transferred to the new ownership of the Florida Coast Equipment Company. That is the old building that will be torn down, and we'll be building them a new facility. The Florida Coast Equipment is coming in with a pretty large investment to have a new building, new service operation, as well as tractor and lawnmower sales. So that is another view from across the street on US 1 of the tractor dealership.
Of what's being proposed.
Yes. No, that's existing right now. That is the existing building right now and what they have. And then that is actually the Florida Coast Equipment. They have several operations all over the state. This is their location in Fort Pierce, which is similar to, so you can see where they have the displays of tractors out front. It's a very similar operation to what Robinson has had since the 80s. That is a artist rendering of the new facility that we're proposed. So you can see it's a substantial capital improvement to the area, as well as, taking down the 45-year-old building. And that's just a proposed site plan that we're using right now. And you can see that even though we're looking to change the zoning of the whole area, we have moved everything as close as we can to US 1, leaving a large pond and retention towards the back just to provide additional buffering to any kind of neighborhood areas. And that's the existing uses right now, and that kind of shows you the BU1 is basically surrounding, when you look at the purple side, the purple diagram on the right, we're looking at trying to match the small area study that was performed in MIMS in 2007, where they requested that all commercial developments be south of Main Street, Highway 46, and also along the US 1 corridor. So that's exactly where this falls in line with the residents' request in the small area study. And that's just some surrounding areas, and you can see the density it's a pretty low density area, but that's just to show you there's a park, a Collier Park, with, I believe, some kind of maintenance facility for a municipality off of Collier Park. yeah, an active equine business as well as a bee company. So it's still a rural area, but we're also providing rural services with the tractors and lawnmower sales. So we feel that's going to be a good fit for the community. And again, that's just other locations that show that the commercial development needs to be concentrated towards US 1 where this property is, and that's our ultimate goal as well. It's more of the same. And then again, that's the US 1 corridor showing the concentration of commercial projects along US 1. So, in conclusion, we request the approval because we're providing a continuation of the existing use, the compatibility with future plans and the citizens' request of the 2007 small area study, and just the investment of a capital improvement that will create value, and also an expansion. The facility is going to be twice as large, so we're hoping to create jobs for the community as well.
Now, as it sits right there, if you can I'm familiar with Robinson Equipment,
Right.
but are they still using the surrounding properties, like for putting all their equipment?
They will be, just display the equipment, yes.
Because they usually had a lot of the equipment to the north of the building.
Correct, and actually, I can go back to the site plan, if you can. It's kind of hard to see on that, but that bottom left corner is where the existing building is, and
Right.
this is a bunch of stabilized pavement or millings that they're storing the equipment on.
Right.
So now we're going to have our building up here and then have a storage of equipment still along US 1, as well as there's an entrance road. We're proposing just a single entrance off of Collier Street, and there'll probably be equipment lined up as you pull into the site.
Okay, anything else?
I don't have anything.
Does anyone at the board have any questions for him? All right, is there anyone in the audience would like to speak for or against this item? Okay, ma'am, if you could come up, and if you would state your name and address there once he gets that cleaned for the record.
Hello, my name is Rita Pilot, and my address is 2308 Harry T. Moore.
Okay.
And I would like to speak on behalf of myself, as well as I'm a trustee to the property that was referred to as the equestrian property in the presentation.
And you are located where now, as opposed to him?
I'm directly behind the property where Robinson Equipment, where the expansion is being proposed.
Okay.
We are adamantly opposed to an additional entry point on Kyler Street. Since the change from Robinson Equipment, there's been additional heavy equipment on that road, which is a dirt road, as you go farther down. And we have a problem with the traffic, as well as we're concerned but the fact that it abuts to the back of our property, that there be a barrier there to delineate the residential property from the commercial property. In addition, we're concerned about the additional traffic and that there be some consideration as to whether there needs to be some sort of traffic control put into place, because with the addition of all the heavy equipment coming out and the additional business that's going to be there, we do not believe that there is a good provision to control that traffic.
Okay.
It's very difficult to turn left off of Kyler onto US 1.
Now, I'm looking at the map here, ma'am, and it's right there on Kyler in the corner of Harry T. Moore. Would be east of Harry T. Moore, correct? And north of Collier?
North is pronounced Kyler, north of Kyler,
Right.
and would be, I'm both east and west. I'm a trustee of the property that's to the east, and I'm an owner of the property to the west.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for her?
I still am unclear where that piece of property is.
Just east of the subject property.
East.
You see where Harry T. Moore hits Kyler?
Here's an aerial. Can you point to where your
She's
property
right here.
is?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for staff. Isn't there a landscape buffer or some kind of buffer that has to be implemented here when community commercial or BU1 abuts residential?
When they come in for the site plan improvements, there'll be a requirement as part of the site plan code and landscaping code that will have buffers and wall requirements. It's not part of the zoning code.
Okay, so it's site
you
planning?
own this property here?
I
Correct.
either own or trustee.
Is that something that we've done before with it, like a BDP requiring some kind of buffer there? I believe I've sat through a item before that we did something similar to that.
If that's what you desire, you can have the applicant come back and ask them if they are willing to put in those conditions now.
Okay, it was just a thought, so thank you for answering. All right.
I don't think the applicant heard those remarks about the barrier. Would you like to repeat for her?
No, I believe she's in opposition of the item.
On the barrier, the buffer?
No. But I'll just carry on for now.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions from the board?
No.
Just one more question. RU 26 is multifamily? Is that correct? And
Yes, the RU26 zoning classification is a low-density multifamily zoning classification. You could have single-family houses, multifamily developments, up to the density allowed by the comprehensive plan and zoning.
And you can put up to 6 units on her property?
If the associated land use with that property next door was also a residential 6, then they can go to 6. If the residential land use was a lower density, then that zoning would be capped.
Thank you.
That's it for it.
Ma'am, that's all we have for you. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Just those three basic points. Opposition to any additional entryway on Kyler, inadequate study of the additional traffic that will be created by this expansion, and a direct, I would prefer a wall barrier between that and the residential property, which runs directly behind it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so the board realizes, a lot of her concerns will be addressed at the site plan process. Between residential and commercial land uses, we do have a provision in the code that requires a 6-foot wall. There are provisions in the code that allows for a waiver process, but that would go to the board as well. But as far as buffering, that's all required, part of land development code, as well as access points that would be determined
Traffic study.
based on a traffic study that would be provided with the site plan.
So just to confirm for the lady that was in opposition, that there would be a wall put in place by the I'm sorry, drawing a blank here, yeah.
Yes, our code currently requires a wall between commercial land uses and residential land uses.
So site planning would require that.
Correct.
Okay.
Ma'am, did you understand that? If you could come back up so we could clarify.
I heard,
When they do go in for site plan review, that it is recommended and required that they have to put a wall up. And also for the other entrance or any other entrance that pertains to this property, there would be a traffic study done to determine whether or not they could even do that. So, and then there will be a buffer between the properties if this gets approved.
I heard you say that there will be a buffer between the properties and that there will be a study done.
A traffic
However, I'm
study.
telling you that it's a problem now. So I would like to understand what that study would entail, because an additional entry on Kyler would be highly problematic.
I don't know what's all involved in the study, but they do a traffic study. I don't know if you could help us out here a little so she has a better understanding.
Sure, the engineers up in Public Works will look at the trip generation based on the proposed use to see if an additional access would be warranted. They will also look at what our access requirements are to see if there's enough frontage to allow for an additional entrance point. They'll look at if right turn only. They'll look at turn lanes, decel lanes. All that stuff will be based on a traffic study that is provided by the applicant.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted you to understand everything that's still got to happen even if this gets approved. Okay?
I understand.
Okay.
I still stand in opposition.
Yes, ma'am. All right, thank you. If the applicant could come back up, please. So you see the concern she has there.
Yes, sir, and just to clarify, right now, the proposed site plan does have just a single entrance on Collier Street, which is exactly where the entrance is now that the Robinson, or the Florida Coast Equipment is using. So there's not an additional entrance proposed.
Now, on the new building you were talking about proposing, going to the north, we're going to you still plan on coming in off Kyler?
Yes, sir.
But I guess if needed with the traffic study, we might have to access off of one.
Correct. It'll depend on the traffic study and
Right.
and how that works. But currently, they are accessing off of. There is no entrance off of US 1. Their access is off of Collier Street.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the audience would like to speak for or against this item?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that site plan hasn't been reviewed yet by staff. If the zoning action were to be approved and the applicant submitted for a site plan to be reviewed, then the county staff would look at it. And they may also make comment about the road material itself, about whether it should stay as a dirt road or be improved to an asphalt base or some other base. So there may be a lot of comments coming out of the site plan review of this property.
All right. Thank you, Mr. George. Anyone got any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I had one question. Are you going to be selling the same brand of tractors?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That seems to be pretty successful. And then a comment that, as he said, we had this small area study, and those of us who participated in that recognized the commercial use of US 1. So I don't see that presents any problem. He's intending to use essentially the same business, just simply put a new building on it, and he is probably going to have a few more tractors on there, although I drive by there every day, so I know that Robinson has equipment spread over
Right.
all of that equipment. It's not just concentrated down in the corner. So, I don't see a problem with that. The concern that I would have with the traffic is, I don't know if you can give us an estimate of what kind of an increase in business you expect to see over the next few years? Are you going to be seeing as much, a significant increase in business, which would result in a significant increase in traffic than what's there now?
I wouldn't, I think that when you look at the Robinson tractor versus the Florida Coast Equipment, they have different business models. And Florida Coast Equipment now has been operating at this location for a couple of years now. I believe that the biggest increase in sales and production has come from that business change where the Robinson family was working towards retirement, where Florida Coast Equipment is a little more aggressive. So I think that any impact in traffic and sales has already been realized over the last 2 years, which they can continue at the same operation in the same building. There'll probably just be, I believe we're adding 2 or 3 more service bays, so they'll be able to just service equipment a little bit faster than with the lead times that they have now. So I don't see a huge jump in sales. They're also looking at other locations in Melbourne, which would also, I think, alleviate some of that. When you look at the dealership that they have and the type of tractor that they have, the next dealer service center is down in Fort Pierce. So we're going from Mims to Fort Pierce. So they're looking to fill that hole somewhere towards the Melbourne area too. So when that does, that should alleviate a lot of traffic concerns as well for this business.
In your
Excuse me 1 second, Mr. Rump. Ma'am, I see you standing up. We understand your concerns, and we've given you that chance to talk. That's all we can do right now. It's okay. We've got your points of interest here, and we'll take care of them, but thank you.
I had one other question. Are you going to be having a lot of 18-wheelers coming through there for deliveries and stuff like that?
It'll be periodic deliveries for the equipment. I can't really speak to the exact quantity.
Okay.
Ron, you drive by every day. I mean, how many cars park out front of a Tractor Supply business?
It's usually very few. I mean, he does a good business and got customers, but it's not like there's people waiting to drive in.
Yeah, it's not like a dollar store that's going to always have traffic. This is
No, I don't see it
it's a niche
generating
market.
the kind of traffic a dollar store would generate, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I personally can't see the traffic getting too out of control. I'm sure with more service, though, they will be bringing in the big semis to deliver parts and.
You know, the intersection there of Kyler and US 1 would be the most concern because it is a 2-lane road. On Kyler's 2-lane road, and US 1 is 4 lanes. And there really isn't a turn lane, much of a turn lane there. It's for me, since I drive it all the time, it's kind of aggravating because there are people that live in the East Mims area. They'll come up and want to make a left turn off of US 1, and they really don't have any place to make the left turn. So you have to kind of watch for that and be careful about it. Be sure you're over in the other lane.
Well, depending on the traffic study, they might be putting one in for us.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And just to, if this helps for consideration, when you look at the proposed site plan and having a long extended driveway, currently as it sits right now, you have probably a crushed marl or a compacted marl parking lot, and you have semi trucks that they're getting the same deliveries that they would have anyways. But now we're going to be, if you think about vehicle stacking, we're going to have a few hundred feet of these trucks being able to pull in, immediately get off of Culver and circulate, on the north end of the property and have a really long driveway to get any kind of semi-tractor deliveries or any kind of traffic conflicts off of the public roads and into their property with the circulation of those tractor trailers. So, having the tractor trailer circulation around all of this equipment is one of our biggest, items we're planning on right now with our site design.
I think that's a good point. Yes.
I've got a question, if I may. Most Tractor Supply stores I've ever been in have hundreds of items like feed, filters, or just equipment.
Sir, this is just equipment. They may have some, two-cycle gas oils, or they do, chainsaws and some smaller hand landscaping tools, but it is not a Tractor Supply or anything like that. It is an equipment dealership that actually services equipment as well.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, well, the first item I think we need to get a motion on is for the zoning classification, which is item H2.
Actually, Mr. Chair, it would be the comprehensive plan amendment would be the first item, sorry.
My mistake. Okay, H3.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we recommend approval of this land use change.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Ron, we got a second by Brian. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's for item H3. Now we'll move back to H2.
No, H4.
That was withdrawn.
I keep going back to this one here. H4.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
sir.
move that we recommend approval of the zoning change also.
I'll second that as well.
Got a motion by Ron, a second by Brian. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passed unanimously.
All right.
Now I can move H4 over, see?
You gonna go back to H2?
Yeah.
Only one necessary, huh?
H5.
Correct.
All right.
Pioneer Point requests an amendment to an existing binding development plan in the BU1 General Retail Commercial Zoning Classification. The property is 8.89 acres. It's located on the east side of North Courtney Parkway, approximately 208 feet south of Pioneer Road, on the south side of Pioneer Road. This property has a tax account number of 3022346 and is located in District 2.
Okay, is the applicant here? And if you could, sir, your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Jake Weiss, civil engineer for the project. Business address is 2651 West O'Galley Boulevard in Melbourne. We come before you today with a revision to a binding development plan. The BDP was approved many, many years ago now. And at the time, we were working with the neighbors to put a restriction on different types of uses. At the time, we didn't know what we were going to do with the project. And since then, the automobile wash industry has evolved tremendously. Instead of those old boring block structures that kind of at times there was gathering places for some not so good activities, have transformed into these tunnel car washes where there's always an employee or two at the site. They're only open during certain hours. The architecture on them is very attractive. I'm sure you've seen some around here. We've done several of them across the county. We've actually provided elevations of what this one would look like. And so we're before you today to ask if we can add the automobile wash back to one of the allowable uses for the binding development plan. The site currently is under development with a Starbucks that's just about complete. If you've been by there, the Starbucks is at the corner of Pioneer and North Courtney. It's a signalized intersection. We also have an application in for the back portion of the commercial, basically right behind the Starbucks, for an assisted living facility. And that project is pretty far along through the permitting stages. And so this would be one of the commercial out parcels, if allowed, recommended for approval by this board and ultimately approved by the county commission. for the tunnel car wash, and it would be almost exactly the same as what we provided as far as the architecture goes and the building itself. We do have the developer here. If you have any questions I can't answer, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board. And if there are any public comments, I'd appreciate a chance to respond.
You just want to add the car wash to the BDP?
That's it.
Okay, well, is there anyone in the audience would like to speak for or against this item? You could hold on there, Mr. Wise. Come on back. We don't have any opposition or... Does the board have any questions for him?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You have a waiver that you're requesting to remove a 6-foot-high masonry wall. What are you planning on putting in place of that?
So the property itself is about 20 acres. The front 10 acres approximately is commercial. The back 10 acres is residential. There's also a very large wetland area in the middle between the two 10 acres. And our client owns the entire property. So there's no plans for the residential portion of it. So just on our east property line, or I shouldn't call it property line, excuse me, just on our east border between the two zonings, we're requesting to put a fence in instead of a wall. And that's to help with the preservation of the wetlands, preservation of the existing vegetation that's there. It's the backdrop to our assisted living facility. So we're trying to do something that could preserve more of the native vegetation that's there. We go before the county commission actually tomorrow on that agenda item. We have met with the commissioner of that district, Commissioner Lober, and he has reviewed that. We do have the support of the staff for our request. So we think it's going to be a net benefit for that waiver, and we'll see what the county commission says tomorrow.
It wasn't clear to me from the information we have exactly where the car wash is going to be on that property.
We're looking at the southwesternmost parcel. So if you're looking at the overall site, you have the intersection of Pioneer and North Courtney. That's the northwestern corner where the Starbucks is.
Right.
So it would just be directly south of that and south of our main entrance drive, which is currently constructed.
Your entrance will be on State Road 3 then?
We already have an entrance that's constructed on State Road 3. We have a single driveway, and we won't be permitted for any others. That's a DOT
You're
jurisdiction
sharing that
road.
with Starbucks?
Starbucks, the assisted living facility, yep,
Okay.
all of them would show that.
Okay.
So it's not going to back up to these residential homes?
Correct. There's a daycare to the south of us that's been there forever, I think. So we'd be adjacent to the daycare.
Okay. That's all I have.
We need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to a motion that we recommend approval to County Commission of the amendment to the existing BDP allowing the car wash.
I'd second it.
Got a motion by Ben, a second by Joe. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.